Welcome back to Worth Coin, your trusted source for everything coins. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of steel wheat pennies. These coins were born out of wartime necessity, and some are worth big bucks today. Let's count down the top 3 most valuable steel wheat pennies with a look at their history and what makes them so special. First up, in 1943, the United States faced a critical copper shortage due to World War II. The government needed copper for ammunition and military equipment, so the U.S. Mint made an emergency decision. For 1 year only, the penny would be struck in steel coated with zinc, instead of the traditional bronze. That's how the 1943 Lincoln steel wheat penny was born. Among the millions minted, the 1943 D steel penny, struck at the Denver Mint, stands out as one of the key coins from that historic year. The 1943 D steel cent features the familiar Lincoln wheat penny design by Victor David Brenner. On the obverse, we see Abraham Lincoln's bust facing right, with the words, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date, 1943, to the right, along with the small D Mint mark below the date, indicating the Denver Mint. On the reverse, the coin carries the classic wheat ears flanking the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum above. The design is unchanged from earlier Lincoln cents, but the metallic composition is drastically different. Instead of being 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc like previous years, the 1943 cents were made of steel, with a thin layer of zinc to prevent rust. The Denver Mint produced over 217 million steel cents in 1943, making the 1943 D a fairly common coin in circulated condition. However, finding one in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially with original luster and no signs of rust or spotting, can be much more difficult. Steel cents are notoriously prone to oxidation. Even with the zinc coating, many have developed rust over the decades, especially if they've been improperly stored. Because of this, collectors place a premium on coins that have been well preserved. In terms of value, circulated 1943 D steel pennies typically sell for about 10 to 50 cents, depending on the condition. In higher grades, like MS-65 or MS-66, they can be worth between $5 and $20. In exceptional condition, such as MS-67 or higher with full mint luster and no spots, values can exceed $75 to $100. Coins with strong strike quality and original surfaces that have been certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC tend to bring top dollar at auction. The absolute finest examples, graded MS-68, or with designations like full steps or full bands, can command prices of several $100s or more from serious collectors who want the best of the best. But here's where things get really interesting. Some 1943-D steel cents are worth far more due to errors. One famous variety is the 1943 D/D repunched mint mark, where the Denver Mint mark was punched more than once, resulting in a noticeable doubling under magnification. These varieties can be worth $50 to $150 or more, depending on clarity and grade. Other valuable errors include off-center strikes, double die obverses, and die cracks. Even more rare are transitional errors, like a 1943 D cent struck on a bronze planchet by mistake. These were never supposed to exist, but a few copper planchets left over from 1942 somehow made it into the minting press. A genuine 1943 D bronze cent can be worth between $250,000 and $1 million, depending on condition and provenance. But be cautious. Many fakes and altered coins exist, including steel cents plated to look like copper, or copper coins with altered dates. A quick way to test is with a magnet. If the coin sticks, it's steel. If it doesn't stick, it may be copper, but always get it authenticated by a professional grading service before making any assumptions. Overall, the 1943 D. Lincoln Steel Wheat Penny is a fascinating coin that represents a unique period in U.S. history. It's a perfect example of how a small change in materials, driven by wartime necessity, created a coin that's still widely collected and studied over 80 years later. Whether you're a new collector or a seasoned numismatist, the 1943 D is an essential part of any Lincoln cent collection. It's affordable, rich in history, and full of potential surprises, especially if you happen to find one with an error or in pristine condition. Next up, in 1943, during the height of World War II, the United States faced a critical shortage of copper, which was a vital material for manufacturing ammunition, shell casings, and other military equipment. To meet the demand, the U.S. government made an extraordinary decision. For the first time in American coinage history, the Lincoln penny would be struck from steel coated with zinc instead of its usual copper-based bronze alloy. This emergency wartime measure gave birth to one of the most iconic and widely discussed coins in U.S. history, the 1943 steel wheat penny. The 1943 steel cent retained the familiar design introduced in 1909 by Victor David Brenner. On the obverse side, the coin features a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the words, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1943 to the right. The reverse side carries the classic wheat ears on both sides of the phrases 1 cent and United States of America, along with the motto E pluribus unum at the top. While the design remained the same as in previous years, the coin's metallic appearance changed dramatically. Instead of the traditional reddish-brown hue of copper pennies, the 1943 steel cents appeared silver-gray and shiny, often resembling dimes to the untrained eye. These pennies were made from low-grade carbon steel and coated with a thin layer of zinc to prevent rusting. However, over time, many coins lost their protective zinc layer, leaving the steel core exposed and vulnerable to corrosion. This is why so many surviving examples today are spotted, rusty, or discolored. Despite their short production run, over 1 billion steel cents were struck in 1943, making them the only regular-issue U.S. coins ever minted, primarily from steel. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 684 million coins. The Denver Mint struck about 217 million. And the San Francisco Mint contributed around 191 million. This high mintage means that 1943 steel cents are still relatively common and easy to find in circulated condition. In terms of value, most 1943 steel pennies found in circulation are worth between 10 cents and $1, depending on condition. Uncirculated examples that still have their original bright zinc coating can fetch anywhere from $2 to $10. Coins in high mint state grades, such as MS-65 or MS-66, are valued at $20 to $60 or more, especially if they have good eye appeal and no signs of spotting or rust. In the absolute highest grades, such as MS-67 or MS-68, 1943 steel cents can be worth hundreds of dollars. Certified examples from reputable grading companies like PCGS or NGC tend to command the highest prices, especially if they're labeled with designations like full steps or high luster. Some 1943 steel pennies are worth significantly more due to minting errors and varieties. One of the most famous and valuable is the 1943 copper wheat penny, which was struck in error when a few leftover bronze planchets from 1942 were accidentally fed into the coin presses. These extremely rare transitional errors are believed to exist in very small numbers, possibly less than 20 known examples across all three mints. A genuine 1943 bronze cent is one of the holy grails of U.S. coin collecting, with auction prices ranging from $250,000 to over $1.7 million, depending on grade and provenance. If you ever find a 1943 penny that looks like a regular copper coin and does not stick to a magnet, have it authenticated immediately. But beware, many fakes exist, including 1948 pennies altered to look like 1943 by shaving the curves of the 8 into a 3, or steel cents plated with copper to deceive collectors. Other collectible varieties include repunched mint marks, doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and clipped planchets. For example, a 1943 D with a repunched D mint mark can be worth $50 to $150, depending on grade and clarity. Dramatic off-center strikes, or die caps, are even more valuable to error collectors, sometimes selling for several $100s. Although the 1943 steel cent was only produced for 1 year, its legacy lives on. In 1944, the mint resumed using a copper alloy for the penny, this time recycled from spent shell casings gathered from the war. As a result, the 1943 steel cent stands out as a unique wartime artifact, a reminder of how even the smallest denomination in circulation was affected by the global conflict. In summary, the 1943 steel wheat penny is a fascinating and historically significant coin. While most are relatively common and inexpensive, high-grade examples and rare errors can be quite valuable. Whether you're a beginner just discovering coin collecting or an experienced numismatist, the 1943 steel cent is a must-have in any collection. It's more than just a penny. It's a piece of American history in the palm of your hand. Next up, in 1943, the United States was fully engaged in World War II, and copper, an essential material for ammunition and wartime equipment, was in short supply. To conserve copper for the war effort, the U.S. Mint made an unusual change and struck pennies using steel coated with zinc instead of the usual bronze alloy. This emergency change was implemented for 1 year only, making the 1943 steel wheat pennies a unique and historic coin series. Among the 3 mints that produced these coins, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the 1943 S steel cent was minted at the San Francisco Mint, identified by the small S mint mark located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. The 1943 S steel wheat penny features the same classic design by Victor D. Brenner, with President Abraham Lincoln on the front and 2 wheat ears surrounding the denomination and country name on the reverse. While the design is unchanged, the composition is very different. These coins were struck from low-grade carbon steel with a thin zinc coating to prevent rusting. However, over time, many of these coins, especially those not carefully stored, lost their protective zinc layer, exposing the steel underneath and leading to rust, discoloration, pitting, and other surface damage. The San Francisco Mint struck approximately 191,550,000 steel cents in 1943, making the 1943 S a common date in the series. Because of the high mintage and the fact that many of these coins were saved, circulated examples in bad condition, including those with heavy rust, dark toning, scratches, or surface corrosion, are not rare and hold mostly sentimental or educational value. These well-worn coins are often found in old jars, estate sales, or beginner coin collections, and they are valued more for their history than their market price. If your 1943 steel wheat penny is in bad condition, such as having heavy rust, worn details, or missing parts of the design due to corrosion, its value is generally around 5 to 15 cents. In many cases, dealers may not buy them individually due to their abundance and condition, but they can still be sold in bulk with other damaged coins or kept as a historic piece of World War II coinage. It's important to note that cleaning a steel penny, especially one in bad condition, can actually reduce its value even further. Harsh cleaning methods can strip off the remaining zinc coating or scratch the surface, leaving the coin vulnerable to even more damage. Collectors typically prefer coins in original condition, even if worn, over ones that have been artificially cleaned. In summary, the 1943 steel wheat penny is a fascinating piece of U.S. history, created during a time of global crisis. While examples in bad condition are not worth much in terms of money, typically only a few cents, they remain important as educational items and reminders of how even something as small as a penny played a role in the war effort. If you happen to own one, it's not likely to make you rich, but it's certainly a cool conversation piece and a great way to introduce others to the world of coin collecting.